We're going to call this meeting to order. We're going to do a roll call starting down here with you, Brendan.
Brendan Tiedemann, Ward 2. Travis Harris, Ward 1.
Tracy Peterson, Mayor.
Carrie Sells, Ward 2.
Aaron Center, Ward 1.
All right, I need an amendment, or I need
I make a motion to amend the minutes.
to add Fifth Street.
Yeah, to have a conversation on Fifth Street.
And I need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Excuse me, yeah.
I just have a question. So special meetings are open to changes to the agenda just by,
Amendment. That's what we're doing right now is we're,
so
Adding.
you don't have to publish it, you can,
It was
anybody can bring
published.
it from the floor and
Yeah.
ask it any time.
The special session, the agenda's supposed to be posted 24 hours in advance.
Right.
We can amend the agenda if there's another item that comes out. This came up after the 24-hour window from when it was posted to the meeting. And we made a point to, if we wanted to discuss this tonight, so that's why we posted it all over Facebook and whatnot to get the word out that it missed the agenda in the 24-hour window. When it came up, we wanted to make sure everybody knew about it instead of just amending it when we got here and nobody knew about it. So that's kind of the window.
Because I'm sorry, yes, I've been a little busy today and while I've been somewhat on Facebook, I didn't see anything.
Yes, sir.
Other than that comment.
I believe it
And
was
so I
on
just
the
wanted to know what the actual
website.
procedure.
it actually came out last night and we we did to text and we reposted a bunch of things of the amendment last night and we got the information last night, so.
Okay, I need somebody to tell me how to find this agenda on the website because I couldn't find.
It's actually on because our website is down, it's on our city Facebook page at the moment. And it is on the website, there's a link that goes there, certain place, I don't know that whole.
Two things available, just the agenda and the minutes.
The agenda and the minutes are the only two things available on there, I guess, on our
I'll
website.
figure it out.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, so I need a first and a second to approve the agenda with the addition of amending to Fifth Street.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Carrie Sells, and a second,
Second.
is that Brendan?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, now we are at the public hearing. We are now opening the hearing on the zoning of rezoning tract 1, Valley View lots 58, 59, 62, 63, 74, and 75.
Everybody know where that's at?
No.
So Valley View is the new development on
Sixth
the
Street.
east.
Yeah, we know where Valley View is.
Yep, so then if you take Lovely and go east out of town, towards out of town and take a right on Sixth Street. And you'll go down about a block, you'll see Tom Rossum's actually building in one lot already.
Right.
Them lots right there going from east to west on the north side of Valley View.
On Prairie Avenue.
Prairie, sorry,
Yeah, it's Prairie Avenue.
is what these lots are that we're talking.
Where are they currently zoned?
They're currently zoned ag, and now we're trying to zone them so he can put multi-use family.
Yeah,
So it has nothing to do with Valley View, just Prairie.
It's just Prairie, Valley View is the addition, Valley View addition is what it stands for. I'm sorry, I should have been more clear, my bad. But yes, it's just those, because that's all that's left. It's just right there.
Right.
Yep,
And it's gone through planning and zoning, already held their public hearing, and they recommended to council to also hold a public hearing, so that's this time when somebody can come that maybe missed planning and zoning's public hearing, can come here as well.
Is it just the lots north of what's already, like the existing buildings and new buildings, not the other portion that hasn't been built on yet?
basically the last remaining lots on the north side of Prairie Avenue, behind the commercial lots, there's like, well, these 6.
and I believe our
It's just a
commercial,
row of multifamily is what the envelope is, that's what those 6 remaining lots.
and actually, commercial lot 74 and 75 is on here as well, because we sold that
That's right.
last month, so that's being
Rezone.
rezoned to commercial. I don't know if that's that's not R, it's something else, I don't know. what it is.
B1.
B1, thank you. This is the opportunity to have a problem with it, or agree with it, or not, or.
Maybe you want to explain that for everybody, just a little bit more in detail.
Okay, so we're rezoning it by the request of, well, by,
So,
okay. So Tom Rassin bought the lots, he decided that he wanted them to be multifamily units. To be able to have them as multifamily units, he had to come to P and Z and say exactly what he wants to do with those. P and Z holds a public hearing in case the public does not agree that we need multi-use family buildings there. So if you had a problem with it, you can bring it up there. Same thing here. If you do not like the idea that he is putting multi-use family and you think they should be single-family dwellings or they should be something entirely, that's what this is for, is to speak your piece if you do not like what is happening in that situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Can you tell us if they're gonna be just standard multi-family housing or if it's gonna be low-income based on that?
That I do not know. I just know that he asked for them to be twin homes and a two-plex and a fourplex, I believe, right?
I don't know if you have to see that.
No,
What do you
we don't
go
want
down
to say
there?
that.
Yeah, I don't even know the answer
Existing one
to
there,
that.
that's-
Yeah.
The one he's building right now will be just like that one, and then the next one down to the west will probably be the four ones.
All we know is he asked for multifamily zoning.
and so originally, back up from the beginning, the reason why it wasn't zoned, that them lots weren't zoned single family versus multifamily. And their egg is, when that development got built, it was all egg on the inside and only single family around the outside. That's why the outside of that Valley View addition got built first and not the inside. If we all remember, the interior sat empty for quite a few years, and so it was egg use, so he wouldn't have to pay, on them lots. So that's the follow-up, is where we're at now.
Okay.
Yep.
So I need a motion.
What,
Oh, yes, go ahead, I'm sorry.
what do you say, lot 74 and 5 you also sold?
It's just 74 was the one the city owned, right? Or
Yeah.
75? 74 is the one we sold
What
last.
is the intention of that lot, do you know?
There's nothing been submitted, we don't get any information as far as what we're planning to do with it. We just get the information that they want to rezone it to business so that they can submit plans then. based
To
on what
planning
they've
and
got zoned as to planning and zoning, so then planning and zoning would review their plans and then that would That would take care of the actual business planning side. This is just a rezone it to business so we can submit plans to us.
And then once planning and zoning approves that, when they do that, then it comes to us.
Okay.
So we don't usually see those first,
So we don't see intent yet
Yeah.
until after it's.
till after, yeah. Okay, so if there is no more.
Yeah, make sure there's no
Yeah, I'll just put on the first two. Okay, so if there's no other public comment, I will need a first and a second to approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve the zoning tax one, Bellevue, lots 58, 59, 62, 63, 74, and 75.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed, I'm assuming no, 7 Okay, we are going to add public time. How public time works, since I see a bunch of new faces in here. I don't think it matters because we're already at public time. It's 2 minutes on anything that's on our Okay, we're going to have public time. How public time works is you've got 2 minutes. Please stand to the podium and say name and address. And you can talk about anything that is on our new business, which in this case is the oath of officer for finance officer and the 5th Street that we're going to discuss. After public time is over, there is no more public discussion while we discuss how to move forward on those business pieces. So does anybody have anything on public time for the oath of office or the 5th Street piece?
Ryan Sending, I live at 610 6th Street,
Is it South 6th Street?
south,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. I just want to make sure I have it right.
That's all right. We're all neighbors.
We are, aren't we?
How in-depth are you with this street as of right now? Has the contract already been let out? Contractors already lined up? All that stuff set up yet?
Yes, the way, what we have done is we have talked to Mike Wendland with Grant Park Capital. And basically the reason why the last meeting we had, we looked at 4th and 5th, because right now, based on with them laying the asphalt in the new development, we can piggyback on that to about 50 cents on the dollar to finish out 5th Street, since as a city, that is our space, that's our road.
Right.
So that's where this is coming from, is that we're piggybacking on what they're doing for a much cheaper price.
So the contract has been let out to H&H?
Yes, well, we haven't signed, it hasn't been signed, no,
Okay. To go
that's what
into-
we're talking about right now, tonight.
Okay,
Yeah,
to go into detail on that, do you have a depth for the blacktop and a depth for the subsoil or subgrade?
yes, I believe it's on our quote, correct? It was done with our city engineer.
Okay, could you tell me what that is off, do you know? by chance?
Off the top of my head, I don't.
Becca, do you happen to know?
Do we have an app? I don't know.
I'll get to my point here in a second.
Mhm. I don't know if we do,
I don't think it was on the estimate.
It's not on the
It's just a.
I don't know if it's on the estimate or not.
I've seen the estimate, it's not on there.
Yeah, it might be, I don't know.
So that $98,000 estimate.
Just hold on, please.
Hey, hold on, we're looking first,
Right.
so let me give him the,
I've got a copy of the
oh,
estimate.
okay, yeah, I don't know if it's on the estimate
It's not,
for sure.
I've already read through
Well,
this.
yeah, go ahead with your point, yep.
My point is, for every inch of blacktop that they lay, you only get a 1/4 inch compaction. Okay? There's a lot of farm traffic, there's a lot of heavy equipment, truck traffic on 5th and 4th.
Right.
To compensate for that, you have to be at least 8 inches thick for the blacktop.
Right.
Okay? So with contractors, you gotta be very careful because they like to skip corners on the subgrade and on the blacktop because I'm not saying H&H is skating
Sure.
or whatever, I'm not saying that. Because most contractors, when they work with government, they're good about it.
Right.
But I've seen cases where when they put in the sublayer, the base, they only put in 1 inch or 2. Because the clay's hard, it's this time of year, it's dry, you're not gonna get any soft spots this time of year. But when moisture comes back into the ground, you have the frost coming in and out, you're gonna get those soft spots coming through to the base, and then that's gonna reflect through to the blacktop, and then you're gonna get soft spots. And you're gonna have the street breaking apart like South 4th is.
I'm going to assume, and this is just my assumption, just because our city engineer is the one that talked to Double H maybe, and he's been our city engineer for years. I would assume that that's knowledge he would have.
Would you agree that a lot of that applies to a new road construction?
New and existing.
Yeah, I know it plays a part in both, but a lot of that, what you're talking about is new road construction where I would agree with you, don't get me wrong, existing it plays a part in it. But it helps that that road's been there since.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
We're backing a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah, because they're both very, very hard under the gravel, and
Right.
on Fourth Street, there's very good compaction underneath all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm worried that once you get the heavy traffic on the first lift, it's gonna start mushrooming out because there's nothing holding it on the sides, on the basic road. So it'll mushroom out, and then you put the second layer on, and it's just gonna do the same thing, and it'll just keep reflecting from surface to top.
Very, very good points, and I appreciate
Yes.
your input. First of all, we have kind of spitballed a little bit looking into truck routes. That development, if we're gonna be investing in the road, we want to decide, let's beat the crap out of Lovely that we know we're going to have to be doing something with, because when that bridge was out, we just absolutely beat the crap out of that road, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
So we have talked about very briefly, I haven't even done it, but I will tell you, it's a good, very good point. I can't exactly speak to it for you, but as far as construction traffic, it has been a discussion. It's like, we're gonna put in the road.
Yeah,
It's not be throwing a bunch of construction equipment down, right? I mean, that's
Right.
very good forethought, and it's, I thought he mainly, and we have had discussion on that as well.
Yes, I appreciate that, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Johnson, Magnolia from Fourth Street. Just to dovetail on to what my son Ryan was talking about, are you sure you have that spelled out in your bid specs? That you're gonna sign and agree to? Because once you agree, to whatever's on that contract, you're stuck,
Right, this is.
good or bad. you're
Right,
stuck.
and this right now, just to let you know that we're not actually signing these contracts as we speak. We're looking to approve a spending limit to have those contract negotiations, to make sure those kinds of things are taken care of.
Okay, and who's gonna be doing the negotiating? Because obviously you're all saying you don't really have the capability, you don't have the knowledge to do it. Are you gonna rely on Banner Engineering for that?
Our city engineer and I'm assuming, Bill, this is something you help with too, am I correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, all right.
does that make
Thank
sense?
you.
Yeah, okay.
I hope so.
Well, I don't have the experience, I bring to lean on people that do have the experience, because that's not my forte.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you know how many bids you used to for the road?
Keep going here. Yeah, sorry.
Be on the record, you want to
Yes.
podium. Cassie Muller, 218 Douglas Boulevard. Curious how many bids were taken, for the construction of this street?
You mean to put down, to look at what we're looking at right now? Just the one, because it's under 100,000, we do not have to go out and get bids if it's under 100.
The whole reason was to look this kind of rate.
Yeah, and the reason was we could have a discounted rate because we're jumping onto the Grant Park capital piece. Or otherwise they would probably triple, close to.
So if it's under 100,000, you don't have to obtain more than one bid?
Correct. Yep.
Deb Paulson, 416 Lovely. How much money have we got sitting in reserves? The city.
Just look at it.
I would have to look at that. I don't have an exact number for you, Deb.
Give me a ballpark. Within, say, 50,000.
Well, we just sold.
No, I'm not guessing on that.
Yeah, I have no idea where to begin.
Reason I'm asking is the follow-up question is, where's the money coming from for the 98,000 that was the amount we were told last time? And it sounds like it may end up being more than that once you figure out what's going on with the underlay. And as Miles had suggested last time, we have that money. So I'm thinking, if we have it, it's money that's sitting in reserve. So I
It's
would
in our
like to know.
infrastructure. It's set in our infrastructure. All road update and maintenance is set in our infrastructure plan right now. We moved Lovely to next year, knowing that some of this construction was gonna happen, which is going to be wet and mill and then overlay next year. And that plan is financially done there, and so we have the money in our infrastructure, which is roads, to cover this.
Because I unfortunately remember very vividly the conversations about taking loans that were not loans on our books and paying them. And I wondered if that 98,000 is going to come out of reserve money that's already sitting there, or if it's going to be a new loan.
Well, there's a couple of things we can do. We can pay for it straight out, or we can put it on kinetic leasing, depending on what the final amount is.
Because again, if we're talking 98,000 in construction cost, by the time you pay interest on that over 3, 5, 7, 10, however many years, you're talking a pretty nice chunk of change. Okay? And the other thing is, during public time in the regular meeting, there was a lot of conversation about who should really be bearing this burden and how much of it should belong to the city. And for the benefit of the people who are here tonight, who were not here like then, and since you are saying you're going to close conversation, once the public time is gone, that when you guys are talking, we're not going to have input, I'd like to have that reiterated. There were a number of people, concerned citizens, who feel that that burden should not be borne entirely by the city, that with the way we've done our road planning in the past, it should maybe be out there in rotation. I believe that was part of the reason it was suggested to table it last time. That, and there were other questions that were asked that were not answered, that I guess I was coming tonight thinking some of those answers might be there. And I'm still hearing from you guys, we don't know, we can't say.
Well, we're
I don't
gonna
know.
have that discussion when we get to that point. We're not discussing that yet, because we're not to that point. We're letting you guys discuss.
But when I'm asking the question, if you have the information and you're planning to bring it forward later, why not bring it forward now?
Because we're gonna discuss it, because several of us have options to discuss.
Okay, because from what I'm hearing with all the unknowns, and I don't knows and I don't knows, I'm sorry, but I think you need to table it again and come back to us with information that is complete.
That's my opinion. Anyone else?
Sorry, me again.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Hello, me, it's me again. I'm all forward for the paving of Fifth and Fourth. Needs to be done. How it's done, it needs to be done. You said something about Lovely being done next year.
Yeah, we have to know it.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going off topic,
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
okay. Nope, you're fine.
Is there any, can you make a note to be in communication with the county when you do that?
Yes, we
So
will,
then
because that's.
You can go past,
Road or something.
okay,
So, yeah.
that way the new culvert
We'll call it.
east of town can be,
Yeah.
that makes easy.
I knew what you meant. Yeah,
So that could be redone because
on
on the
just
east,
right out of town or further?
Just
For
east.
the,
Yeah,
culvert,
just-
for the bridge was pulled out.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
because I know who did that and it's, no.
It's not done right. Okay,
We'll be
yep,
in
got it.
touch. This is great.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, then we'll,
Yeah.
oh, yep, okay.
I never speak at anything because I'm not a public speaker, but Nikki Doyen, 217 Douglas Drive. Going off of Deb's comments, I think that when you guys make a decision, I think the citizens are entitled to hear what those decisions are and give you our input after you decide that, not before.
Most public,
How do we give you public input when we don't know what you're deciding to do is what my question is.
it's on the agenda when we're gonna decide what we're going to do with Fifth Street. We just amended it to say we're going to look at what we're gonna do with Fifth Street. A lot of people forget, I'm gonna say this to you, Nikki, and not to offend anybody, but a lot of people forget that you guys voted us in to do the right thing for the city. We're your constituents to have that conversation and to make the right decisions for the city. You guys voted us all in. Not me, I suppose, because I drew a card. But you guys voted us in to make the right decision for the city. So, and we're taking your input. I'm not saying we're not ever gonna take your input. But when we discuss it as a council, that's us discussing it, trying to get settled and have those conversations with each other, because we can't have these conversations with each other outside of this setting right here. Because then it's considered a quorum and we have to invite all public to everything that we discuss. So anything more than just one or two of us discussing this, the telephone game, he said, she said. So that's why we have to have our time to discuss it as well.
I'm just saying, you said that all of you had ideas,
Yeah, we're going to be discussing them.
but,
And we tabled it to knowing that we needed to find more information on.
I guess
wanted
I would just like to
include it.
have it back opened up to, public comments after you make those comments.
We can
Amongst
just,
yourself.
we can discuss that when we discuss it and see if we want to open it up to you guys. Okay.
And just to add to that, that's the purpose why the agenda gets put out a minimum of 24 hours. So everybody knows and reads, so they can do their research with any questions they have. I don't know about you guys, but in 24 hours, I can do enough research where I could go into something thinking one thing, and by the end of it, might have a different opinion. I might sit here before I have a discussion at public time, and my thought might be swayed by somebody in the public at public time. But this is a government meeting. I mean, this is the point of it.
I know what it is.
Right. So we're just trying to make sure we're doing our diligence for everybody, making sure we have the right conversation.
Okay. All right, on to, oh, yes.
Lori Bowe, 103 Loveland. I'm sorry, what's
What's
your name?
that?
Lori,
Lori Bowe,
Can you spell your last name?
Boeve.
and what address was it? I'm sorry.
103 Loveland.
103 Lovely, okay, now I know where you're at, okay.
So are you guys deciding tonight that what you're gonna do with Fifth Street?
I would assume we have three options. We can approve it, table it, or decline it.
I would suggest to table it. Where is the agenda published for the 24-hour notice? I know I got a text today at like 9 o'clock saying that we have special session.
City website
City website, Facebook,
So legal
office window.
license gotta be published, or on the window of the office, technically, because the city website's working.
Okay. And what papers does it all get published on?
That is,
Well, the agenda doesn't get published. because-
No, but that you were having a special meeting, what papers does that all get
That
published?
doesn't get published.
it doesn't get published on paper.
The
That's
public
what I was told today when I called the city hall.
The public hearing was published, not the special meeting. So when it's a public hearing, it requires us to publish 10 days in advance before we can hold the hearing. A regular special meeting without a public hearing is just 24 hours notice.
Because I was told today when I asked about a special session, it was posted 10 days in advance in the paper.
Yes,
Yeah, I called
this
City
one
Hall.
happened to be, yes. But it's not always. It's just because it was a public hearing in the special meeting.
And it's the Tribune.
Yes.
The Tribune and Dubs is the paper we use, which is also owned by the Argus Leader.
I would just suggest to table it so maybe more people have their, come to the meetings.
Is that letter I sent you, is that public record?
Can I just respond to something that Adam Hare said? Yes, you are all elected, and we appreciate you taking the job because we know it's very thankless, okay? That's your job. Our job as the people who live in this community is to tell you what we want, what we need, and what we expect.
Which is
And
why we
if
have
we're
a lot
not
of
doing
time.
our job and telling you, then I'm sorry.
Which is why
You
we're having
know,
public
if
time.
you don't talk, don't vote, then you shouldn't bitch,
Right,
okay?
which is why we have public time. I agree.
Good, all right. I wrote a letter, Zach Nevin, 413 Penguin Avenue. I wrote a letter to the council last week. I feel like there's a lot of one side of this argument, just so that it's clear to everyone that if whatever they decide, I know they've received at least a little bit on both sides of this. I'm just gonna read the letter that I sent. I'm ready to encourage you to vote in favor of paving Fifth Street from the future Catherine Drive to city limits. When I was a kid living on a farm in Moody County, I asked my parents why we had gravel roads instead of paved roads. They explained to me that living in the country afforded you certain freedoms, often in exchange for other conveniences, one of which would be paved roads. That seemed like a fair trade to me. Now I'm living in a town considering whether to pave what would become the final gravel road that involved in city limits. During the July 13th city council meeting, there were several items discussed as to why we should not pave the remaining of Fifth Street. On further examination, these reasons appear to be ill-informed or misrepresentations of the reality of the situation. As you are aware, the city is not electing to connect the new development to city limits, as that portion is already being covered by the developers of the Grant Park addition. Also, there is no new precedent being set by paving this road. The city and taxpayers paved Fifth Street to the north of Lovely Avenue after the development had long been completed. There were also frequent mentions of the road being annexed into the city due to the Grant Park annexation. This is half true, as the west side of the road was already within city limits prior to the addition. I feel this is important to mention, as I do not agree that the mere annexation of the eastern side of the road should negatively impact the decision to pave the entire road. During that meeting, you were also encouraged to thriftily spend the taxpayers' money. I fully agree with this sentiment and feel that taking advantage of the deeply discounted rate being offered to us at this time is an extremely thriftful use of funds. As you are aware, gravel roads still require maintenance. As traffic continues to increase and new homes flank the road, dust control will likely become even more frequent needed. I was told the city spends $3,000 to $4,000 on each application of dust control and chemical to that road, and we are unable to adequately grade the roads after application, which leads to washboards and other dangerous road conditions. Having spent my formative years traveling poorly maintained gravel roads, I can attest that those conditions are hard on both drivers and vehicles. This effect is only going to be amplified with continued increase in traffic. I applaud the city for so readily approving the paving of the remainder of Fourth Street. I look forward to you making the sensible choice and approving to do the same for Fifth Street. As a road within city limits, I feel paving it is a small part of the conveniences that come with living in a town. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Zach.
I have one question. Sorry.
No, part of it is for this, because if you sit there, someone can't hear you.
Oh, that's fine, I'm sorry. So Fifth is being talked about, when will Fourth be talked about?
We approved fourth in the last meeting.
So that's already.
That's already
Already
taken
sent
care
over?
of.
All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, we're gonna move out of public time and into new business. First section of new business is the oath of office for finance officer. Michelle Simmons, please stand. Did you? Oh. All right, the oath, please raise your right hand. The oath of the state of South Dakota County of Minnehaha. Please read from there.
I, Michelle Simmonsma, having been elected to the office of the City Finance Officer of the City of Baltic, South Dakota, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota, and that I will faithfully and impartially to the best of my knowledge and ability perform all the duties of my said office of the City Finance Officer of the City of Baltic, South Dakota, as provided by law. Further, I will render a true account of all money, credit, accounts, and property of any kind that may come with the possession while performing my duties.
The above oath and office was sworn to me before the 27th day of July in 2021.
And just a quick, it says if you're appointed, not elected.
Yes,
So
you're appointed.
Yeah, you're an appointed official.
You're an
and there it
appointed
says
official, you're
elected.
not elected.
Sorry.
So I need you to sign. Now I need the seal.
Congratulations, Michelle.
Yeah, she does.
Come and take your seat. All right. Go back to our blue pen. You have that? Okay. Okay. All right, next is discussion of Fifth Street and paving it from, that's the name of that street, Ryan, Catherine, to the city limits. The quote that was put in front of us on the 12th, was that when our last meeting was, the 12th of July? Was put out there for 98. I believe we did, we each wanted to look at some other thoughts and processes based on some conversations we've had in the public. Let's discuss.
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. I, over the past 10 years working in construction, I'm a project manager for a commercial construction company. I've had the opportunity to work for a lot of developers, gotten to know many big ones, matter of fact. Without saying any names, just Otherwise, I feel like just kind of throwing them under the bus a little bit. I don't want anyone reaching out to them directly, but I can promise you they're a very reputable company. It's all been doing construction for a very long time. That being said, I'm going to take two conversations and just briefly give you the lowdown on that. First conversation I had, his insight is the fact that Grant Park is paving from their first driveway to connect into our infrastructure, which is where Fifth Street is now paved at the school, the four-way stop. The fact that Grant Park's doing that, he very, very rarely sees anything like that being done anyway. He said, so he absolutely would not touch Fifth Street. This is doing construction in Sioux Falls and some surrounding towns.
If he was a developer.
If he was the developer, he would not be paving that under his expense. He would only pave the roads that were in his development that he owned.
So basically what you're saying, just so I understand, since Brian is taking care of what's on Fifth Street to Catherine, he as a developer would never do that. That's not in his.
I'm not gonna, he
Not
never,
never, but that's
he
not-
said it's
it's
rare.
rare.
He said it's rare.
Okay.
He said if
So
it's
it's rare.
being, yes. Second conversation I had with one of the gentlemen, these are very long conversations, this is not thank you for the information, he had a lot of good things to say about Baltic. He talked about the surrounding communities around Sioux Falls, and some of them are struggling, they're doing some drastic things to push some developments, they're doing some drastic things to push commercial, multifamily. We've got our struggles, don't get me wrong, but we're very fortunate as a community hearing a big time developer talk so highly of Baltic, so I took that under, a very good light. The second one is, he said he's done some different things within the contract of the development. But he said it would be a rarity to push that expense on a developer of Fifth Street. The reason why I'm bringing this up, and the reason why I really was seeking that answer is in the last meeting that we had, I felt like the main discussion was just because this is something that Grant Park wanted. So that is why we were doing it. So I made a call to Mike Wendland and said, I wasn't aware of that, I can assure you, right? I feel like there's this backdoor stuff happening. It's not, I was not told, so I asked him, I said, wait, what is the interest of Grant Park in paving that? And his words to me were, there is none. If we do not pave Fifth Street, he is not going to pave Fifth Street, and that's really on us. It is an opportunity for us to get 50 cents on the dollar for some asphalt. And in your letter, you had mentioned the $3,000. I can't say that's been done twice a year, every year, but I know it's been done. My first couple months sitting in this seat, that was a big discussion. Some people wanted it, some people really didn't. It's $8,000 to $10,000 a year. I can't tell you how long we've been doing it, but I have an inkling that it's around the sum of $90,000 to $100,000, if not more. So it's just a tidbit there. I'm not saying it has to change everything, but it's just, I find it interesting. That being said, I have also talked to, I obviously can't talk to everybody, but when I've had public conversation with people, I have really felt the need with people who want to see a town invest in its infrastructure. It's good for not only the residents that live on that road, it's good for the entire community, it's good to push commercial. Who knows commercial down Fifth Street anytime soon, but it's just more often than not, you see a city invest in its infrastructure when it's not 100% need, such as a water main break or something like that. It's leading to growth. It's optimism in my mind. That's how I perceive it. I understand there's the whys, budgeting. Can we afford it? Can we not? These are all fair questions. It's good to have a devil's advocate in the room just for discussion. But that being said, I really do perceive this as a good thing. I do.
Travis.
I'm pretty much fairly in line with Brendan's overall thoughts there. I did reach out and talk to other people within the community that don't normally frequent meetings, whether they, because they don't want to, because they're not interested, I'm not sure, but, I value a lot of people's opinions that don't always have the forefront to come out and plaster their opinions, for whatever reason. Most everybody I talked to, there were some on both sides of the fence as far as who should be responsible, is it a need, is it a want, et cetera, et cetera. The people that I talked to, most everybody thought it was a great thing, it's a part of growth. The overall health of the community is excellent. They're excited to see it happen. They had, as a taxpayer, they did not have any doubt or denial that we should not be footing the bill for this. And I would echo that. As a taxpayer, that is not going to directly benefit from it. I live on the complete other side of town, literally as far away from this road as you can get. But I see it as part of growth, part of development, part of our city continuing to branch outward, continue our growth. So hopefully, keep making Baltic as great as it can be. And kind of same deal. I did talk to some people in the development industry. Not that I know a whole lot in the construction industry. I'm a mechanic for a living. But I did talk to someone in that industry, and they kind of echoed the same thing. He said, unless there was some sort of development agreement in place beforehand to get this ball rolling, there's really no reason that the burden should fall on the developer. So, for me personally, as a taxpayer, I think it's going to be a good thing. I know what it was like on the north side to have that gravel forever. It was awful. It was kind of a running joke in the town for when I was growing up. So that's in my 2 cents on
Your 2 cents? As far as me, I live on North Fifth Street, that's my backyard, and so I totally understand. When Josh and I moved into our house 16 years ago, that was not paved for many years. And so that brings on a lot of dust and a lot of stuff to your house. Not only that, but having to drive it was terrible because washboarding and everything else. One of my really good friends lived over on Kyle, and so I always took that road over there, and sometimes it was absolutely terrible. I just feel like, for me, knowing that I've gone through that, I would hate for somebody else to have to go through that, especially as traffic's gonna get heavier and more frequent. And so that's just kind of where I see it from going from my experience. Yes, it doesn't affect me just like them, and it doesn't affect probably a lot of people in this room, but will affect a lot of people that are not here. And that's what we need to think about. And we also need to think forward. If we don't do this now at 50 cents on the dollar, we are going to have to do this many years down the road, as my road behind me had to get paved eventually, that they finally did it. And it was not this cheap. So that's what I go back to, that's what I think about.
I too have had conversations with a lot of people about it. The one thing that I always made sure to bring up first was, would this get done if Grant Park wasn't built? Would we even be looking at Fifth Street? Would it be a conversation? What would we do? 4th Street even be in the conversation? Don't know. We talked about it last time because it was 20-some years for that 4th Street hadn't got finished. I like to look at things on both sides of the coin. I like to look at what it's going to do for this community, what it's going to do for the taxpayers. Growth is good. Growth is inevitable. Growth brings a lot of pain to a town. We are seeing that firsthand right now as growth. But growth takes time, and a lot of the complaints that I've heard in the last 10 years of living here is, why don't we have commercial? Why don't we do this? Why don't we get that? You know what? You gotta have growth, and that was the conversation. You gotta have the people to support these businesses. You gotta have the infrastructure. You can't have one without the other. In my mind, I mean, if from a business sense, if you can get something done for half price or less, to me, it's almost a no-brainer. If you're not paying attention to the markets, or maybe you are, inflation's gonna hit. You know, then pricing can go up. Yeah, it might cost $300,000 in 2 years. It might cost $600,000 in 2 years. It might never ever get done. I don't know, you know, but I know we have an opportunity right now to take care of it. I've talked to people that live along Fifth Street there and the complaints of the dust as well, just like on Fourth Street. In my mind, like I said, I agree with everybody else here. I'm on board for it. I think it's a great opportunity to continue growth. Growth is inevitable as long as somebody's willing to work at it. That's my 2 cents.
All right, so we've all said our piece. I either need a motion to approve,
I'll do it.
a motion to table, or a motion to deny. What?
I make a motion to,
Approve the up to 95.
yes, I make a motion to approve up to 95K for Fifth Street paving.
Brendan, is that you?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Correct, underline.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. What did you say? I'm sorry.
I asked what happened to discussion about having the correct underlay for it, so that this 95 or 98 Colorado road that we're putting in isn't junk in 2 years because.
that was discussed, so that's part of the
That's
negotiation.
the part of the negotiation of the contract. This is just approving to spend the money to have the conversation to sign the contract.
If it's gonna cost 20,000 more and we're gonna spend 150,000.
Then we don't do it.
We won't do it, we'll have another public conversation like we are now. I mean, that's just how it's gonna work.
That's how it works.
Yep.
Okay. Now, I need a first and a second to approve to go into executive session for matters relating to personnel.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session. I will second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody, for attending. I really appreciate it. Realize how many you have.
Thanks, guys.
We can't just do it.